It's time for your wake-up call. Wake up the passion and God's purpose in you. In the Wake Up Call radio show, join host Pastor Warren and Annie Sally and their guests for a powerful dialogue. Real talk for everyone. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Hello and welcome to the Wake Up Call Talk Show. I'm your host, Annie Sally. Well, I'm excited today about the Authors Showcase. We're actually closing it out for this quarter today. And our last author for this month is Dr. Timothy Brantley. He's the author of 25 books, Relationship, Theology, and Intimacy. And tonight we will discuss his brand new book, Marathon Intimacy. So help us welcome Dr. Tim Brantley. Let's go into the show. Hello, Dr. Tim. Hello, Dr. Tim.
Hello, how you doing, Pastor? And how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm super excited that you are here. Yes. And we will dive into the conversation with your brand new book. I read it. I'm fascinated by it. There's some really great stuff in there. So I want our listeners and our viewers to tune in, like, and share the show. And get ready. We're talking about Marathon Intimacy with Dr. Timothy Brantley. Well, Dr. Tim, what inspired you to write the book?
Just the landscape of especially Pentecostal churches where intimacy is not talked about a lot. And so that's been my inspiration for writing books on intimacy. Secondly, as a counselor, I recognize a lot of people were saying communication is everything. That's not true. It's your connection. I'm talking to you, you're talking to me. We're communicating because we have a connection. So many couples, they're not connected. So because they're not connected, they're trying to communicate without a connection. And, you know, unless there was a connection with StreamYard, I couldn't communicate with you at all. So that's what the major focus of this book is. Couples have to intensify their connection.
That's good. I love what you said in the book. You said communication is not the key thing, it's connection. And I ditto that, because before we can get to communication, there has to be a connection, because we meet many people along our way and we don't connect in an intimate way or relationship. So it's that ultimate connection that drives us to a greater relationship, which then is built on communication. That was a good thing. That was an eye opener there. I had to share it with my husband. I want to quote something you said. You said, "This book will provide, without a shadow of a doubt, the secret of a happy relationship begins with sex." How so?
Because sex is the ultimate of two people coming together, male and female, husband and wife. They're coming together and they're open. They're totally expressing themselves. You know, sex is better with clothes off than clothes on. And so that mentality is that I'm totally vulnerable to you. I'm totally open to you. And so when couples are having intimacy on a regular basis, they are strengthening their connection. And I will tell you, if a couple is not having sex on a regular basis, there may be problems definitely down the road for sure, because they're not doing things to strengthen their connection. And without connection, here come affairs, here come lying, here comes coming home late, here come excuses, all the things that will, in the long run, destroy the marriage.
Okay. So they're actually getting it from somewhere.
If you're not gonna get it home, you're gonna do some takeouts.
Oh my goodness!
Takeouts ain't good.
Well, we don't want that.
No, we don't.
You said all couples are constantly connected. If there is a disconnect, let me rephrase it. All couples are constantly connected.
Right.
There is no disconnection.
Right.
If we're connected, there is no disconnection.
Right.
No disconnection means great relationship.
Correct. Because
talk about that point.
When you are connected, and so my hands represents the wife and the husband. When you are connected, nothing can come between you. Right? Nothing goes between you. It's when you're disconnected. Now, all of the issues of the enemy, of your past, the abuses, will start to erode the relationship. That's why the Bible says, "Give no place to the devil." And so the reason why many relationships fail is because their lack of connection. I mean, I love God. I have to talk to God on a regular basis. I just can't talk to him on Sunday. I just can't talk to him during Bible study. It has to be on a regular basis. Well, the same thing with a couple, a husband and wife. You have to maintain that connection, because you're going to be connected to something. That's why the title of the book is Marathon Intimacy, Marathon Connection. You can never stop the connection, because once you stop the connection, here comes the enemy in with things and offenses that may destroy the marriage down the road.
And I love the fact that you call it marathon. You know, this is long. This is the long haul. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon.
No. This is not a sprint. And many couples, they'll fall in love. All of a sudden, the problem down the road, they stand up in love. No, keep falling in love. Keep falling in love. Keep reminding yourself, why did I pick her? Why did I let him come into my life? Because again, when you stop the erosion, and the erosion of a relationship is your connection. Why did I want to be with that person? Because there was something there. And as time goes on, you erode the connection. So there is a depreciation in your connection. And so this book is telling couples to appreciate your connection. Don't erode it.
Wow. Well, we're going to go even deeper into this conversation. Thank you so much for agreeing to come out and share. You have such a massive knowledge of information when it comes to relationship and intimacy. So we want to get even deeper into the conversation. We're going to take a break, and we will be right back.
And we have the Brantleys.
Yes.
Amen. That's awesome.
Yes. We have been married, 32 years this past year? What about you guys? Let's start there.
Well, we've been married, it's been 5 years, we're going on 6. This is our 6th year.
Okay.
Yeah. At 6 months.
Okay.
We got 3 fans. Absolutely.
You know, we actually wrote books, When the Vow Breaks, A Journey from Perfect Healing. And in that book, we outlined the 7 pairs, the things that made us compatible, the glue that kept us together. So why don't we start talking about the most important tool to marriage? And I personally believe it's communication. I personally believe it's communication because, you know, for instance, at work, you could compile an email and send it, okay? And it's up to the person that receives it to interpret it. And And we are back. We just wanted to highlight one of Dr. Tim's podcasts,
Thank you.
Marriage Works Ministry. It's a phenomenal show, and we join him with two other guests, and we talk about marriage, all things marriage, and it's a phenomenal show. So make sure you tune in. Look for the alerts and the ads about Marriage Ministry Works. We come together once a month and talk about all things marriage. Well, back to Dr. Tim. We have been talking about marathon intimacy. We talked about what inspired him to write the book. And we're talking about if there is a disconnect, then communication is a disconnect, and anything else is a disconnect. So it's vitally important to keep the connection within the marriage. And he said it begins with sex.
Mhm.
It begins with sex because that's a connection. That's the ultimate connection that, bring us together. And we're going to go deeper into this conversation with Dr. Tim. Before the break, we were talking about, we were getting ready to talk about inside outside vices. There are so many things that are competing for our time throughout the day and throughout our lifetime. However, it's imperative that we keep marriage on the front burner. If we don't, those other devices will destroy our marriage. So, Dr. Tim, you said when you let things from the outside, they will always fail. The marriage will always fail. When you let things come in from the outside, the marriage will always fail. Talk about that point.
Yeah, it's intrinsic with COVID. People were infected because of what happened on the outside, and it came in. That same thing works emotionally with couples. When I allow outside vices or outside pathogens to come in to cause a disconnect, then then the small fight becomes huge. But when I am totally connected, because what the enemy does very well with couples, he starts in the mind. And so he gives you a thought, you let him plant that tear, and that tear actually goes from TARE to TEAR, because now there's a rip. All right. And so the enemy is always planting TARE in couples, always. But again, you have to be strong enough not to allow it to turn into TEAR, because then when that happens, then there's a disconnect. As I say in the book, it's easier to stay connected than disconnect, because when you disconnect, now you got to use energy to get reconnected. So it's better to stay connected with your spouse.
Wow, that's powerful. If you do the work, you don't have to redo the work.
Perfect. That's it. I tell couples that you have to be intentional about your connection. It cannot be happenstance. It can't be it has to be a daily walk. Paul says, I die daily. Well, I like couples to say, I connect daily. Because when there's a disconnect, you go to bed mad, haven't had sex in 2 weeks. Those are signs of disconnect. And in one of my other books, I talk about the epidemic of couples who are just surrendered to being roommates. The devil is a liar. I will not be a roommate when I got papers on you and you got papers on me. I am not going to be a roommate. But of course, the roommate happens because there's no connection.
And there's a disconnect. That's awesome. And because the couples refuse to do their work. Correct. You've got to commit to the work. And I do believe that both of us working is vitally important to keep that connection. Right. Must keep that connection, must work on that connection. And you said couples have to guard themselves. I love that point. guard themselves from the outside vices, and we must have such a connection in case someone comes between us. We will immediately stop that. And I love that. We will stop it. We will nip it in the butt, because we are a connection. We are one, and we identify this thing as a couple and we nip it. Talk about that a bit.
Yeah, couples forget that the two shall become one. And one of the things that many women say in my practice is that I don't feel protected. Well, yeah, you're not going to feel protected if your husband is not being one with you. It is my opinion that if Adam had been in his rightful place, he would have never have done that, because, again, there would have been a connection, a constant reminder of what God has said. But again, we don't exercise the connection. And it's funny, we'll connect to our kids, we'll connect to our job, we'll connect to our careers, we'll connect to a dog. I mean, the little old dog. I mean, we'll connect to everything but the spouse. And that's the problem. And again, people say, I can't connect. No, you connect what you want to connect to. So as you said correctly, a marriage cannot be in the back burner. It has to be in the front.
Absolutely. Because oftentimes people are excited about the initial ceremony. They're concerned about the hall and the outfits and all of that.
Right.
And once they get to the marriage, the thrill is gone. Well, why is the thrill gone? Because you had an unrealistic expectation of the marriage. You failed to believe that it's a work in progress.
Yeah, the main reason why weddings are more successful than marriages. I'll say it again. The main reason why weddings are more successful than marriages is one simple word: investment. Okay. You invest in the DJ, you invest in the venue, you invest in the clothes, you invest in the tux, you invest in everything on that one day. And yet after you jump the broom, that's for Black folks that when you get married, you jump the broom. Yeah. There's no investment. It's totally gone. There's no dating. There's no flowers. There's no doing things sexually anymore. Why? Well, I'm married. No, you have to keep investing. That's why I wrote the book. It's a point of people constantly investing, taking vacations together. That's investing. Going to the movies together. That's investing. When you stop investing, the marriage will fail. Just that simple.
Absolutely. And we actually talked about that in our book, When the Vow Breaks, A Journey from Hurt to Healing. We highlighted the seventh share being the investment. We're investing in one another. Because oftentimes people grow apart and they begin to live on islands by themselves. And that's destined to fail. They start to worry about their money, their card, paying their bills. There is no I in team. We are a team and we're doing this thing together. So I'm investing in him and he's investing in me. Bogus says rightful position is connection is necessary. Yes. Absolutely. My husband said, let's work. Amen. Let's do the work. Let's do the work. Yeah. This is awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Tim, for sharing your thoughts on your book, Marathon Intimacy. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. We're going to get there. And there may be someone out there saying, I get it, but my husband will not be intimate with me. I get it, but my wife is always angry. What would you say to that person?
That's a very powerful question. I would say to them, get back to the foundation. What was the foundation of your becoming one? Again, that goes back to connection. Were you dating back in the day? Were you less combative back in the day? Were you more loving, more concerned? And usually, now let's go deep. So if a spouse can trigger you for bad, if a spouse can trigger you for bad, then a spouse also can trigger you for good.
That's
All right.
good.
And so we're so focused on triggers being bad, but you know what? You could bring out the photo album of the marriage, or you could bring out something, or you can go by where you propose, or I mean, you got to rebuild that connection, because again, hear me loud and clear. Everybody's connection is different, but you have to maintain the connection. We maintain our cars. Ladies, you maintain your hair. Guys, you maintain your sneakers, but we don't maintain our relationship. We do not maintain the connection, and that's why marriages fail.
So you would say to that couple, maybe plan a date night and talk about those things that brought you together, those things that you have in common.
That's a very good point, Pastor Ann, is that a lot of people fight over what they don't agree with, but let's find what we do agree with, and then let's grow from there. Because what's happened is that there's a small point in the relationship that's grown, that affected the entire relationship. So if I can find the pinpoint of where the disconnect came in, and a lot of the disconnect comes from unforgiveness.
That's right.
I've held this grudge for 10 years. I've held this grudge 20 years, and I've never, ever forgiven you. So once you heal that initial disconnect, usually it starts to flow. It's kind of like Roto-Rooter. You know, once the Roto-Rooter goes deep down and finds the issue, you know, then once the issue is unstopped, thing flows again.
Yeah, it flows again. Wow. And, you know, it could be little things. Oftentimes we sweat the little things. I found out after years and years of marriage, I don't sweat the little things I once sweat. You know, who dropped the towel on the floor? If I'm there first, I'm just going to pick it up. Who's going to cook dinner? That does not matter. Who's going to wash the clothes? It really depends on your setting, your home. My husband loved to wash clothes. He loved to clean the house. I have no problem with it. Early on, I had a big problem because I had an unrealistic expectation of him. He was supposed to model my dad, which was an outdoorman. You know, so I wanted him in the yard, cleaning the flower beds, cutting the yard, doing that type of thing. However, my guy came from New York City. There was no yard to cut. And so I had to go back and rethink what I was angry about. That didn't matter whether he wanted to put a load of clothes in the washer and with a little bleach and mess up some stuff. You know, we just go to the store and get some new stuff. But you know, it's the little things that help us to get unbalanced, you know, take the car off the road, because oftentimes, you know what I found out, Doctor, oftentimes what we're arguing about is far from what it really is.
Correct.
It has nothing to do with those clothes in the wash. It has nothing to do with you cutting the yard. I could hire somebody to cut the yard. But something on the inside is bubbling over, maybe carried over from a conversation or a misconversation until that was an opportunity for me to share it and just blow up.
Right. You've hit it on the nail. Couples will dig, help me, Lord. Couples will dig more graves versus deal with resurrections.
Wow.
They'll keep pointing fingers at one another. They keep blaming one another, but that is not getting us to a solution. And so it's really finding, okay, where can we connect at? Where can we find that middle ground? Once I find that middle ground, once I find that connection, I mean, for example, if I turn this lights off right now, you know, it's gone because I've lost the connection between the light and the power source. But once I turn it back on, boy, I am totally black. When I turn it back on, then now the light comes. And that's what couples need to do. They need to say, you know what, let's slow down the pace. Let's find the switch to put our connection back. Let's find the switch. Once you find the switch, you never switch it back off. You keep it on.
That's good. That is so good. So we need to find the switch to get back to that place.
Right.
And we're going to talk about something that's very close to my heart. You talked about dating. Dating is so vitally important. When people think about dating, they think about before the marriage. We cannot stop dating. We cannot stop dating. You know, I lose my zest if we stop dating, because then I began to feel not adored or not. Yes. And that's how we feel as a couple. We feel like, you know, we're just going through the motion, and we cannot get there, because if you're working to keep the connection, those things that we did early on is still important. You know, I get counsel people all the time say, well, he's always bothering me about my hair. He's bothering me about what I wear. You know, you go to work and I come home and you're still in your robe. That's a disconnect. That's a problem. I did not find you this way.
That's correct.
We can't get married and let ourselves go and expect the connection to stay there, because we allure that person into relationship with us. You know, and men are very visual beings, you know. So you're outside and you're interacting with all these beautiful women, and then you come home, the curlers are still in your hair, you haven't showered, you still haven't a bathrobe. That's a problem.
That is a problem.
That's a problem.
Yeah, you dating really shows the value that you have for your mate. It really shows I value you. And value you don't mean dollar menu value meal from McDonald's either. It means I'm doing something to make you feel that I need you in my life. I am constantly making sure there's no rust on our connection. There's no erosion on our connection. That for example, when my wife calls me, I stop. You know, before the show came on, you know, Warren called. You stopped. You just ignored me. I mean, you just forgot.
I'm sorry. I forgot. 33 years of training.
That's good though. That shows your priority that you have with Pastor Warren and he has with you. And that's what couples lose, because you're going to be connected to something. Again, that's why I wrote the book. You're going to be connected to something. So why not strengthen the connection between you and your spouse? And it's not just sexually, it's mentally, it's emotionally, it's spiritually, it's running out. All right. So my wife needs garbage bags. All right. I'm so connected to her. She don't have to tell me. I'll look, because she needs it. I'll go and get it. And by the time she comes home, the garbage bags are there. That's connection.
That's connection. That's a good example. Thank you. Thank you for that. Well, explain the 25-80 thing. What's that? 25.
Sure. So there's 24 hours in a day. I know. And there's 7 days in the week. But I'm saying if you follow this book, you'll be connected 25-8. My wife and I, AT&T is probably going to try to get us another phone plan, because we're always on the phone, either by text, by video. How you doing? What's going on? I miss you. I mean, I'm a 56-year-old man, and I'm talking to my wife like I'm in kindergarten. Do you love me, Circle?
Well, we've been doing this 35 years. We've been together. I've already talked with my husband at least 6 times a day. And when he called just now, it was like 911. You know, like I hadn't heard from him all day, but it's because of the connection. He's my best friend. I love to talk with him. Exactly. I love to connect with him. And, you know, just like you stated before, it comes on all levels. We wrote the book, Beware of the Intimacy Snatcher, because intimacy comes in different layers. There's spiritual intimacy. There's physical intimacy. There's emotional intimacy. You know, there's recreational intimacy. And so when you close the door to the outside and you commit and connect with your mate in all of those areas, then you're closing out the enemy. and you're engaging. Of course, you may have to sacrifice, you may have to realign yourself to commit in different ways, like recreational, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about science fiction, but I want to connect and stay connected to my husband. So I connect in that way. I can watch anything he watches. He can watch anything I watch, because we have adapted and we have committed to this relationship. So that's what makes a difference.
That's correct. That's correct. And like you said, you guys have said, we're going to make this work. We're going to do the big and small things, because again, when you lose that connection, and the people listening to us right now, they haven't talked to their mate in over 5 days. I mean, they're like two ships passing through the night, and they're both preachers, and they're both in the church, and they're both in the community. And I'm gonna say something that y'all ain't gonna like, but I ain't studying none of y'all, because I'm in Connecticut, so y'all can't get to me. Anyway, is that it's hypocritical that you connect to the community and not to your own home. That's hypocritical. That's two-faced. That you would rather make sure you look good in public, but in private you're not talking to one another. You're not conversing. You're not growing. You're not strengthening your connection. And so this is why so many people are roommates. They have accepted being roommates. They accepted living in two separate bedrooms. They're in their California bed, and they're like on two different continents in the California bed. That don't work no more.
That doesn't work anymore.
No,
wow, that is so good. Dr. Tim, talk about validation. You know, you were talking about how people will connect with outsiders and family members, their friends and everything before their mate. Shouldn't we validate one another? And maybe that's the missing component. You don't feel validated. You don't feel secure in that relationship. So you run to the thing or the person that validates you.
Affairs start with someone giving me something that I don't get at home. And that's validation. When my wife walks into the room, I don't care where I am. I stop, I look, I glare, I lust, I do everything, because she's beautiful. She's scrumptious to me. I mean, so and then I'm not only saying it with my eyes, I say it with my words. I'm not only saying it with my words, I say it with my actions. So all those things are validation. So I'm saying it, I'm looking at her, but most of all, I'm actually doing things to validate that when you want something from me, I stop. I mean, I could be counseling. If my wife calls, excuse me, I got to pick up this phone for my wife, because she is that important to me.
Absolutely. That's good. That's very good. Wow. Wow. So again, this is amazing. We're going to have you back so that we can pick up from here and discuss some more about even some of your other books. And right now, I think I want to take a break and show the commercial where they can actually see all the books that you've written. So stay with us and check out this commercial. And we are back with Dr. B. Dr. B has written over 25 books on relationship, theology, and intimacy. We're actually talking to him about his newest book, Marathon Intimacy. And we're right at our closing now. And I want to quote something from your book. Dating helps you to be less ceremonial and more intentional on
Mhm.
life and growth of the relationship. Talk about that.
Yeah, dating makes you stop your
Mhm.
hectic schedule.
Mhm.
Dating makes you schedule. It's saying that you're important to me. So today I have the interview with you today.
Mhm.
Friday usually our date night, and we'll
Mhm.
definitely do something after we're done. But Tuesday I had a very slow day. I called my wife a week prior. I said, "Listen, Tuesday's slow. We're going out." So we
Mhm.
had a Tuesday date night. I mean, we went out and enjoy. Why? Because I cannot forget why I married this woman. I cannot forget why I gave you my last name, because my last name is
Mhm.
important. So I gave you my last name. So I need to be reminded. Why did I give you my last name? And that's why dating just does well. And when I go out, my wife's beautiful already, but I mean, she puts on the dresses and
Mhm.
the and the underwears that I like, and I'm just like, because she knows what I like, and she does that
Mhm.
for me, and then I do the same thing for her. My muscle shirts, stuff like
Okay.
that.
Okay, that's all right. I love it. I love that. I love that. Date night is definitely important.
It is.
Dr. B, this is a wonderful book, and I really enjoyed it. And I've got halfway through it, and I will
God bless
definitely
you.
have you back so we can discuss the rest of it.
God leads.
What's next for you? Talk about what you're actually doing and what's next for you, what you would like to do from here, what you have in the works. Tell us about those things.
Two major facets. One is I am hopefully by this week opening up a book mentoring class.
Okay.
By God's grace, I've written 25 books, as you said. In 19 years, I'm sorry, in 19 years, I've written 25 books. And so a lot of people are very hesitant to write. They have apprehensions about writing. So I'm going to be walking beside them as they write their first book. And so that'll be a service that I'll be offering to the public, whether fiction or nonfiction, just walking with them, holding their hands, because after 25 books, I think I know a little bit of what to do and what
Absolutely.
not to do. So that's
Absolutely.
number one. Number two, as you also know, I do comedy. I'm on the largest stage here in Connecticut, Mohegan Sun. And God has opened the door that in July I'll be going to Broadway, doing comedy on Broadway.
Okay.
There's a Broadway comedy club. So I'll be doing that. So those are two major points that I'm doing that God's blessed me to do, and I'm gonna do it to the glory of God.
All right. That's awesome. That's awesome. And so, how can our listeners get a copy of your book?
Sure. My website is www.drdtcbrantley. That's BRANTLEY.com. drtcbrantley.com. My books are there. My books are also on Amazon.com, BarnesandNobles.com. It's nationally. Also, people that want to follow me in my comedy, it's www.drbcomedy.club. drbcomedy.club. And also the mentorship class will be on my website, hopefully by the end of this week. And people can click on I have 3 different points of mentorship, and people based on their income, they can click on which one is better for them. And and within 6 months, if they follow me, they would have hopefully published their first book.
Okay, awesome. That's very good. So if you would send all those links to me, I will make sure to add those to our broadcast and plus to the social media.
Thank you.
I will add those to your link as well. Okay. Last minute thoughts, Dr. B. Last minute thoughts.
It's all about connection, people. My life is not perfect. I went through a divorce because I lost the connection tried to get it back, but by the time, you see things, it was toxic. And so that's the underbelly of a loss of connection, is that it becomes toxic. The song is true. There's a thin line between love and hate. And so when you don't strengthen your connection, the bitterness, the anger, the unforgiveness will start to come in. So this is my blessing to couples. Marathon intimacy is always being connected 25/8.
That's good. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Please go ahead, like and share the show on your social media platform with your family and friends. And then you can find the Wake Up Call Network on all platforms of radio. Wherever you get your radio podcast, we're there. You can find us 24/7 on every platform. You can also find us on Access 21 TV. You can also find us on the Now Network TV, and you can find us on social media. So please go ahead and share and like the show and share it with someone that would really be inspired, because Dr. B has a wealth of knowledge pertaining to marriage and intimacy, and it will definitely be a blessing to you. Again, Dr. B, we thank you. We thank you for being a part. We'll definitely have to have you back to continue the conversation. I believe we should continue the conversation, because people don't quite understand the importance of intimacy on all levels. When we think of intimacy, we just think one level, but there are many, many levels and cores to intimacy. And so thank you so much for being a part of this show. Dr. B, you stay with us, and we're going to go ahead and close out. God bless you all. Remember, this has been your wake-up call.
It's time for your wake-up call. Wake up the passion and God's purpose in you. In the Wake Up Call radio show, join host Pastor Warren and Annie Sally and their guests for a powerful dialogue. Real talk for everyone. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram